Okay, today's an exciting one. It's a subject I've talked about before because it's dear to my heart and my past energy experiences and adventures. We're going to talk about Mars. We're going to talk about our relationship to Mars. We're going to talk about NASA's knowledge of Mars and our relationship to it. We're going to talk about what was found on Mars, what was actually found on Mars. And I'm going to share with you my own experience that I've discussed in the past about this. And I feel very, very confident about what I'm about to tell you today, and that there are things here right on Earth that demonstrate that we're closely connected to Mars. I'm going to explain that right now. Let's go. Welcome to Landria, Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through those fears and live an amazing life. Yes, we're going to discuss, let's just say it, can we stop limiting our thinking? It's this way. This is the reason why. We don't know. We don't know. Now, unless somebody's walked in the room and told me how things are, some alien comes in and tells me how things are working, it's all speculation. And it's all these fantasy stories out there. I'd like you to just listen to what I have to say today, because based on my own experiences, I believe that we are direct descendants of those who once lived on Mars. I feel very confident I know what happened to Mars. And I want to share with you some information that was shared on the Y-Files. You know, that's my latest favorite channel. And I give kudos to him over there, the influencer, the creator, because he's speaking up a lot about some things that are being covered up, that are being said, that we're being misled about. And he brings some things to light. Most of it he debunks, and that's what I love about him. He's debunking most of these stories out there that they're just not good. They're not good for us, right? But he talks about Mars. Now, before I go into that, I hope you'll subscribe. It keeps me going, and it tells AI and YouTube we want more of positive messages. And it uses this information, and we get an upgrade, literally, right? And the more you're over on the conspiracies and the negative stories and the conflict and they're bad guys and we're being ruled by this and that, the more you watch that stuff, those fantasy stories, which are coming out now, we're going to talk about that, the more you tell YouTube, that's really what we want. So when you're watching something, of course, here's of interest to you, more negativity, more separation, more conflict, more stories, more conspiracies. And people wonder why they can't find me? Welcome aboard if you are a new subscriber. The Y-Files, he's stepping up his game, and so am I. What does that mean? Y-Files did a video that I watched. I believe the one that I'm going to refer to today is the Martian mystery, the Phobos incident, because he's got a few on there. This one in particular examines the actual photographs taken when NASA sent our probe out there, okay, a couple times, and what showed up and what the response was when other things were examined closely by people here on our planet who pointed out that there are some unexplainable things on there that must be made by an intelligent being or beings. All right, you need to watch that video because it really goes into detail. He's great at collecting facts and history and things like that, okay? You come here, get direct downloads, and I take us into a mystical space because that's really what I do. That's what I'm connected to. So I'm going to share stuff with you that goes beyond the facts we see here. Now, I love the Y-Files because they do debunk stuff, and they actually look into the backgrounds of some of these people and incidents to give you the information that it is mostly made up, okay? But that's not the case with what we're going to talk about today. So, I discussed with you in our last video that it is just too bizarre that we can look up anything in history and know the progression of it. Even before we had books, libraries, even prior to the Bible, we had drawings, we had carvings, we had all kinds of information. And what is missing? What's missing is the story of how these things were made, who did it, and why these people that were depicted, or creatures, or beings, what happened to them? Where did they go? And all of these amazing structures, let's talk about the pyramids. How were they built? Why is there no history on this passed down? This is one of the most fabulous things ever to be created. Yet there's no history that was passed down in carvings and the legacy, the storytelling, most of all. It doesn't exist. Yeah, we have some carvings, we have all kinds of stuff like that that doesn't really tell us anything on how these fantastic structures were created and why. Now, I discussed that it was meant to set us up for a powerful future. It was meant to set us up and was used at that time to accelerate the progress of the species. All right? It also holds a great purpose of which we're going to find out in the very near future. The reason why we don't know much of anything about it, and that there are secrets hidden, I believe, in the Sphinx, because they've shown that there is a chamber and that there is something in there, and we do have some information that something pretty fantastic is there. Answers to who knows what, waiting to be discovered at the right time. All will be revealed when we are able to use it properly. Now that is by design, okay? And you could say, where's the facts from all of this? Well, this is just logic, why this would be this way. If we don't have access to something, and there were other beings here, of which we've had depicted on walls for centuries and centuries, all over the world, with cultures that didn't have any kind of communication with one another, depicting the same things of space people, sun people, corn people, all these stories that they told. These are real stories that have been told about other beings here that are no longer here. We knew that something else was here guiding us. All right? Pictures, extraterrestrial, craft, all kinds. This has been going on for a very, very long time. So we know that there's a mystery there. What happened to these people? Where did they go and why? Because if we were to have that technology, you know darn well we would misuse it, and those who have tried to introduce technology here, free energy, have conveniently disappeared. We are not on the frequency to be able to handle this. Now, here's what I want to share with you about Mars. Of course, NASA sent their probes and took pictures of the surface of Mars. There was a lot of speculation about Mars, what Mars was, and photographs that were examined by other people. As we know, there was seemingly a face, a carved face on a pedestal that is unexplainable. Near it were pyramids. We know that there was once waterways, possibly, I don't know, oceans, if that's a proper word. There was water and terrain very similar to planet Earth. We also know, according to experts working in this field, that there are concentrations of nuclear blasts, nuclear fallout, way more than any testing we've ever done here or actually fired off, okay? What does that indicate? That there was some kind of a blast that happened on that planet. Two spots in particular that incredibly intense, that most likely destroyed the planet. So it doesn't look like an abandoned planet because it was destroyed by nuclear blasts. Now, here was the synopsis, and I'm going to share with you what I know that I feel very confident about, which I've shared with you for quite some time now. Supposedly, what are the scenarios? They blew themselves up. One of them is that they were not advanced people because they're building pyramids and things like that. I don't think that couldn't be further from the truth, in my opinion, because pyramids, as we know here, were built by advanced technology, okay? Frequency, moving it with sound, that's all very possible. All right, and what is the pyramid? It's an energy structure. It functions on some level that we don't understand, but I suspect will be known to us at some point. I believe that's what that was. And so the suggestions were that they were not advanced people and that advanced people came, extraterrestrials, and blasted them. That's scenario one. My suggestion, my opinion, is no. The second one was that they were advanced and they blew themselves up with some kind of battles. My suggestion is no, and I'll tell you why. The Martian species, very human-like, were advanced. In fact, they were so advanced that they didn't battle with one another. They were not in conflict. They were actually a very peaceful, advanced species, living like an advanced species with pyramids, not with manufacturing plants and the stuff you see here. That's why none of that exists on there that we can at least see at this point. I believe that they were, I shared this with you before, the meek. And I have a statement about the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth. I believe that the meek were granted earth because they were the peaceful ones, the few that left. I have had decades of reoccurring dreams of a planet that I lived on that had large waterways and some desert-like areas too, with extremely peaceful people, advanced, but lived very simply. I was one of them. I was part of a team. This is just my recollection of what could possibly be a past life. I was part of a team that was to assist in, let's just say, the safety of the people, the species. Okay, I was one of them. They were in battle mode, not against anyone. They actually were not battling anyone because they're peaceful people and did not use weapons on themselves or others. It was part of their culture. Other extraterrestrial species were battling over them. I have distinct memories, not good ones, of seeing villages going up in flames with craft, dropping things on them, battling over. There were some ETs that were trying to come to the rescue of the Martian species. They were actually trying to help battle, take control. The conflict was amongst the other species to take over the planet. All right, that's why I'm telling you there's nothing evil going on here because we would have been taken out just like they were before. We're protected from that, possibly because of that. We're a hands-off zone when it comes to that. The planet was so badly damaged. I can remember seeing literally hundreds of people constantly evacuating their cities, towns, and seeing them come. I would help take care of them. And at one point, I was evacuated out because my life was in jeopardy because I was helping so many of them. And they would constantly be blasted out of their cities, and this battle was going back and forth, and eventually, yes, there was a nuclear blast, probably a couple, I don't remember, but I know that the skies were dark, that we weren't able to see the sun anymore, and that we had to evacuate. I was part of the team that did that. Now, you might think I've lost my crackers. Why? Because you don't have these memories? Some of you do. Some of you feel very confident that you were a part of something else. Now, mine are consistent. the reoccurring dreams, I can actually draw the towns, I can draw the details of the streets, the cities, the waterways. There were little islands of like shopping areas and entertainment, huge entertainment areas. People lived in these wonderful communities together, and then at some point we're having to huddle together in pretty much destroyed building structures, and again having to abandon, and we're in survival mode. I was allowed to take my family out, my parents, and they decided to stay. They opted not to go with me. They said they were going to stay, and they stayed there. So obviously perished. I left, but I was part of the team that was removing people from the destroyed planet. Distinctly remember that, okay? Now, decades of these memories of seeing craft, of seeing battles. I remember being out at events, and we would have to abandon the stadiums and get home and take cover, because not because they were blasting us, but they were blasting each other up in the skyways. I remember this. Dream after dream after dream of this in different scenarios. And I know what the planet looked like. Not as mountainous as the Earth is, not as green, but definitely fits the bill. An advanced species. What made them advanced? They had the technology. They were peaceful. So, what is our fate? We are not going to walk in those shoes. We're not going to walk in those shoes because we are protected from that kind of battle over this planet. This is a different matrix setup, okay? We now are responsible for our own survival. Nobody has to do anything to us. We're doing it to ourselves. The assistance that we have from other species is up to us to take. Now, we can, of course, align ourselves with those that are not on higher frequencies, if we want to. But that's not what we want, is it? It's up to you. What you use, what you eat, how you speak. If you're in conflict with others, you will be recreating the conflict that other planets have, and not the meek from Mars who got to come here. Now, I believe that we are descendants, and I do believe there were other ET species that came and assisted to set us up for success. Another shot at doing something right with a lower dense species, living it out. These are all games. What do you think? So, John Brandenburg, who I would love to interview. I've tried to find him. I'll continue to look at it. Super high level dude in the space programs, point blank says that he believes that we are descendants of Mars. Here's a very super high level intelligent man, knows all of this stuff, NASA brain, and said that we absolutely, it's pretty obvious that we're descendants, that somehow we are here now, and that there was definitely something that took place on there, and that it was once inhabited. And now the photos that you saw pretty much show that, pretty much prove that something else is going on there. Why is this so difficult to believe? Well, what happens if some other countries get blasted out? Where do they come? Well, most of them come to the United States. Yeah, to take refuge. It's no different. Planets take refuge on other planets, if that's possible. Or, like we did here, go seeking out new territories. It's not so crazy. And if they were more advanced, then of course we brought that DNA here. I believe that's why we have higher DNA, that we have established that here, and that there are many here that are able to activate that because they have that past life experience. Now, that's not to say not everyone's advanced, because there is no one below or above you. I believe there's so much more that we don't understand. And I believe that NASA has all that information and doesn't want to touch it because they'd have to make a statement one way or the other. So they sort of buried that information. Photos got misfiled and lost conveniently. Well, I don't put my stock into governments or NASA or anybody else who's controlled, because they don't want us to advance. It is a small group of people who would like to keep us in conflict because it keeps them in the position of control. We need to change that and stop blaming them and start becoming the new world solution makers, change makers in peace, the meek. Yeah, I don't believe in conflict. I don't believe in taking sides. I don't believe in judgment. I see that this is the game. And it's sort of funny because when I was having this download that I need to have this discussion again with you, I was walking on my bridge. I was thinking it'd be really cool to get some kind of an answer here, some kind of a sign. And a biker went by me. He looked at me, and I don't know why he said this. He goes, "It never gets easy." It never gets easy. What's that supposed to mean? I'm walking on a bridge. He says, "It never gets easy." I thought, there you go. Accept it. We're here. As long as we're here, it's never going to be easy. We didn't sign up for easy. When you accept that, you know that you can be that driving force for a completely different way of life, even though there will always be those who make lower choices. I'm getting a downloaded book. It's called Red Mustang. It's going to be a movie, and you're going to love it because it talks about our future in the 22nd century, and they talk about us and the evolution of us into them, and you'll find out what happens, because I believe that's where we're going right now, into that new era, that new golden era, which will also include the lower frequency choices, and that will be accepted. However, it will not be allowed in the new world space of peace, right? It'll be accepted, but they will have to live it in their own spaces, their own turf, their own realities. I'll discuss that a little bit more. So what do you think about this? I have discussed this before, and whether you think I'm loopy or not, that's a judgment too. Who are you to say that I didn't live these lives? Who am I to say that you aren't seeing extraterrestrials every night in your living room, or orbs, or spiritual beings coming and talking to you? If you are, I want to hear from you, all right? And there's a few of you I'd like to interview. Come to me with genuine stories, not something you heard from somebody else. I want to know what you've experienced, because we're going to step out into the light and start talking about these things more and more. And those fabulous stories that are made up, we'll start debunking those, because the lies and the stories meant to deceive us and separate us, we're not going to listen to them anymore. What do you think? I want your opinion. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to hear more about Mars, I'm happy to share it. All right, so those of you who want to create online businesses with passion, purpose, and positive impact, if you want to create income online, we're doing it and having fun with no tech training. We are creating things that are saving people's lives, changing the planet, offering things and options for people that are going to change how we do business, and we're going to earn doing it. This is a free webinar. If you want to come check it out, I'm taking action. I'm going to give you some options. You know my book, Breakthrough Fear. It could be life-changing for you. I hope you'll go purchase it, read it over and over again, and hopefully you'll understand that you are a limitless, beautiful, perfect being, and you are here to access that and to experience the self-imposed limitations of the species. But you don't have to believe it. Yes, be that light, shine that light. I know you can do it. You're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.